शांत स्वरूप शक्ति स्वरूप प्रेम स्वरूप में आत्मा हूँ। ब्रह्म से मैं अवतार लिए, देह का मैं आधार लिए, सृष्टि मंच पर अभिनय करती मैंने जन्म कई बार लिए। साथी मेरा सर्व शक्तिमान ज्ञान स्वरूप में आत्मा हूँ। परम पिता की मैं संतान ज्योति स्वरूप में आत्मा हूँ। शांत स्वरूप शक्ति स्वरूप प्रेम स्वरूप में आत्मा हूँ। पवित्र स्वरूप सुख स्वरूप आनंद रूप में आत्मा हूँ। आत्मा हूँ। शांत स्वरूप शक्ति स्वरूप प्रेम स्वरूप में आत्मा हूँ।
Om Shanti. So, did you think about what we discussed yesterday? Did you spend some time thinking about it? And if you did, then what comes to your mind when you think about that? Yes, Tejalben, I can't hear you. So, I think that if you have spent any time reflecting on what we discussed yesterday, then you must naturally arrive at one question, which is, if I am not all that I am conditioned to believe I am, then who am I? Have you come up to that question? How many have? Please show raise your hand and show me. Yes. So, because very simplistically, I shared these ideas. Yes, Tejal Ben, tell me. Hanji. Yes. So I was just sharing that if we have spent any time reflecting on what we heard yesterday, then we must have naturally come to this question about who am I then really, if I am not what I am conditioned to believe. Yes? Because very simplistically, yesterday I threw some ideas at you that as a child is born, then they are conditioned to believe or conditioned to associate their identity with the gender and with their looks and their grades and their performances and their state of health. And then slowly, gradually, they are taught to associate with the achievements or the attainments in life. And that's how we kind of arrive at who we are. Today, if somebody asks for an introduction, then what we naturally share is the name, the age, or the occupation or the designation we are operating at, or the other labels and titles conferred on us. And then we wear our best dresses and try to put our best foot forward so that They kind of are impressed by how we look and how we conduct ourselves. So this is how we tend to introduce ourselves into the world. And we do not know, we did not think that this is some kind of conditioning and this is not the truth until yesterday. So maybe yesterday was the starting point when we started to think whether actually this is true or not. So today we will explore that in greater detail. Now, if I ask you certain questions like, why does the doctor, when somebody goes into the operation theater, he says that bring the patient in. But when that person dies on the operation table, then the doctor would say, take the body out. Okay? So when that person was entering the operation theater, he was a patient. And then when there is a death, then it's called a body. So if I am the body, then the body is still there. Then who left? Who left and who was the patient? Yes? Soul, Atma. So we have heard these words, soul or Atma. Now there is another question, which is when somebody dies, we say, wo chal base. So who we say the body is still there and we say wo chale or base. So who are we talking about? We are talking about somebody who you pointed out as the Atma or the spirit or the soul or the consciousness. Various people use various words to denote that, but that's what we are talking about. Then there is another expression when there's a dead body. You call it the arthi. Arthi means arathi. Arathi means the chariot which doesn't have the charioteer. वो रथ जिसका रथी चला गया. So this body is the rath, and then the one who drives the body is the rathi. Now we all know that the soul leaves, okay? But what I want to today delve upon or think about is not whether there is a soul or there isn't a soul. The important question that I want you to think about today is whether I am a soul and I have a body, or I am a body and I have a soul. Is it true that I am a body and I have a soul? Or is it true that I am a soul and I have a body? Which one is true? I am a soul and I have a body. Sometimes you hear this expression, हम मर जाएंगे, आत्मा निकल जाएगी. I will die and the soul will leave. This expression is an inaccurate expression, because if you say I will die and the soul will leave, it means I am a body and there is something called a soul and that will leave. So even if I die in that eventuality, whether the soul leaves or doesn't leave is of no meaning to me, because I am already dead. If I use that expression that हम मर जाएंगे आत्मा निकल जाएगी, तो जब मैं मर ही गई मुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है आत्मा निकली या नहीं निकली. So we have to understand that this question about whether I am a body having a soul or I am a soul having a body is very important. So the truth is, I am a soul and I have a body. And when we understand this, then it implies that I continue to exist even when the body ceases to exist. I existed before this body. I will exist after this body. This body is just the temporary costume that I am wearing. Now, have you come across anybody sharing a near-death experience with you? Have you come across a situation where you experienced a near-death experience or somebody shared it? There are lots of people who experience this phenomena called the near-death experience. And what happens in that near-death experience is somebody who is clinically very ill and they visit the hospital, and sometimes the body goes numb and dead, so they are pronounced clinically dead. But while they are clinically dead, that is, the body is dead, they keep experiencing whatever is going on in that room. So that soul or that consciousness, which is a living entity, is still alive, and then that consciousness keeps experiencing whatever is going on in that room at that time. What the doctors are saying, what's going on outside the door, what's going on in another room, and then sometimes what's going on in a distant place far away from where the body is lying also. Because when the body ceases to exist, then the consciousness gets free. And then you don't think you can only see and hear within the limits of the body. So sometimes you can experience more than what is within the range of that body also. So there are many people who experience this phenomena, which has a name called the near-death experience. And because of this, we also have some kind of an indication that the consciousness, or the one that is the thinking, experiencing being, is separate from this body. So even when the body is not clinically active, not alive, still the consciousness is operating. And the consciousness or the soul or the spirit or the Atma can be defined as the living, experiencing being residing in the body. And when that consciousness is active, then the experience and the thinking that can go on even when the body ceases to exist. So this is something that we need to understand, that I am the consciousness, I am the living, thinking, experiencing being sitting in this body right now. This body is just a costume, and everything associated with it is just temporary. Now let me ask you one question. You must be sitting in your home probably at this time of the day. And while you're sitting at home, I would request you to close your eyes for some minute, maybe a minute, and then mentally visualize everything that you have and everything that you think belongs to you. Starting from the body to all the people, things, places, titles, labels, everything that you think belongs to you, starting from the body, please bring it to the screen of your mind. And then ask yourself one question. What out of all of these will never change and never perish? इनमें से क्या है जो कभी नहीं बदलेगा और कभी नहीं टूटेगा? whatever you can see, whatever you can hear, इनमें से क्या है जो कभी भी बदलेगा नहीं, कभी परिवर्तन नहीं होगा और कभी विनाश नहीं होगा. तो what is it that will never change and never perish? Is there anything perceivable by these five senses which will never change and never perish? Is it so? Is there anything that you can point out that is perceivable by the five senses but it will never change and never perish? So there is nothing of this kind. Nothing that you can see through these five senses or perceive through these five senses will continue to be the same. It will change continuously and then it will perish one day. Now, this is one fact which nobody can change. This is the truth of existence, that everything that's there must change and must perish. Now, when you operate in life, when you go about your life, do you really consider this fact? Do you take this into account? That everything is mutable and everything is perishable. There's nothing that will never change or never perish. And if we do not take this fact into account and we lead a life of oblivion where we keep believing that things and people and circumstances will just continue to be the way they are right now, then this kind of an unaware existence or unconscious living will only make our relationship with change very tough. Because change, we have all heard that expression that change is the only constant. But the thing is, what is my relationship with change? Because change is inevitable. Change is the constant that we will always be faced with. But the important question is, what is my relationship with change? Because I, the soul, I, the consciousness, am operating with this body, objects, people around me, and they will all change. The body will sometimes be okay, sometimes be not okay. Circumstances will sometimes be favorable, sometimes unfavorable. People will sometimes be my way, sometimes they will not be my way. Sometimes I will get what I want, sometimes I won't get. The universe won't be very well behaved the way I want. So, what is my relationship with this kind of change? That's the question I need to ask myself. Because I think the biggest problem in our living or today, the way we are conducting ourselves, is our relationship with change. Because we move with this assumption that everything will stay the way it is and people will always be the way they are today, and with this assumption life becomes very difficult because our relationship with change goes very bad. So this is where we need to understand that I am the soul. I am not who I think I am. I am not the titles, the labels, the body, the roles, the relationships. I am the one performing all these, and then all that my eyes can behold, everything that's out there is susceptible to change. And the very nature, the very design of everything is that it has to change. So I must explore my relationship with change, because if I do not come to a place where I accept change as just change and don't label it as tragedy, or don't label it as a mishap or something else. If change was just thought of as change, then life would become very easy. Because every change wants you to shift your attitude, your way of thinking in a certain manner. Every change wants you to appreciate a new dimension. But when we start resisting it and we start creating heavy emotions because of that change, then my feelings go heavy and then everything looks very difficult because our relationship with change is not sorted out. Now, before sorting out our relationship with change, we need to build our relationship with ourselves. Because if fundamentally we have made the mistake of basing or forming our identity based on these changeable parameters, if we have based our identity on things that are bound to continuously change, then I'm bound to suffer from an identity crisis every few minutes. Because now it is very simple. If I sit on a wobbly chair, if I am sitting on a chair that is wobbly, then how can I feel stable? I can't feel stable because I'm sitting on a wobbly chair. So if I have founded my identity on things that are ever changing, then how can I ever experience a stable state of mind? Because my state of mind will always experience identity crisis because I have based my identity on things that I have no control over, right? And then just like we discussed yesterday, that although we believe and we are conditioned to believe that everything is outside in because we have based our identity on the external parameters, it is actually inside out, and there is enough scientific proof to let you know that the thoughts that I create influence my mental health, they influence my physical health, they influence my relationships, and they influence my constant level of concentration and hence the quality of work that I do. And then we also know about science talks about neuroplasticity these days. So what is neuroplasticity of the brain? So in simple terms, it could be defined as if you do something n number of times, then your brain makes it easier for you to do it for the n plus 1th number of time. For example, if you create 10 thoughts of worry, then your brain becomes conditioned to think in a worrisome manner, and then the 11th thought that you create will more often than not naturally be that of worry. So this is what science is telling us, that the brain is plastic, or there is something called neuroplasticity of the brain, which means that in simple terms what we discussed day before yesterday, that whatever we think becomes our feelings, attitude, action, and then slowly the habit. So habit, we have 4 kinds of habits in us: habits of thought, habits of feelings, habits of attitudes, and habits of action. So if you think in a certain manner for a certain period of time, then your brain gets used to that thinking pattern. If you create a certain kind of feelings for some time, then your brain gets used to creation of that kind of feelings. If you create a certain kind of attitude for some time, then your brain gets used to that kind of attitude creation, and same with action. So we have these habits and our brain changes likewise. So what I want to point out here is that there is enough evidence to prove that everything is working out inside out. So if I'm thinking in a certain manner, feeling in a certain manner, then it is giving rise to habits. There is proof for that. It is giving rise to mental health issues. If I'm thinking negatively, that is there is proof about that. It is affecting the physical health of the body. Medicine uses this term psychosomatic, so we know there is proof for that. We know when I'm not in good mood, I cannot form good relationships, and I know that my concentration suffers when my feelings are not with me. That is, when I'm not feeling well, then I cannot concentrate in work. You know it from experience. So everything is working inside out. And if I allow that inside to be affected by my because that thought that we take is affected by the consciousness. And if my consciousness is based on physical identities, then definitely everything is changing outside. And if I place my identity on something that is ever changing, then I can never think in a stable way. Then I can never be in charge of my feelings and thoughts. And then I can never be in charge of my destiny. Do you get the link? Yes? So if I allow my consciousness, my sense of identity to be based on external parameters, then it's a very vulnerable way to live your life, because in that case, your thoughts, feelings, attitude, actions, habits, behavior, physical health, everything becomes a product of your circumstances, which is the way we are living life right now. And this is a very difficult way to live, because everything outside just changes suddenly. We in Brahma Kumaris use this expression that change will always be sudden, and then it will catch you off guard if you have not based your identity on truth, and if you have always chosen to believe that your identity is based on external parameters, then any kind of change that will come suddenly will throw you off guard. And this is what exactly we are experiencing in these times. Now, we need to understand really well, explore really well the truth of who we are. Because until and unless we get the strong, solid foundation of the permanent identity that we actually have, we will continue to base our identity on these frivolous and fragile parameters, and then every change will always keep upsetting us. So now we need to understand, who am I? So I am that consciousness, I am that soul, I am that being who is operating this body. Now you see, I will ask you 3 questions and you try to answer that. Is it possible that your body and your mind are in 2 different places at the same time? Is it possible that your mind and your body, yes? Yes. I hope it is not so right now. I hope your mind is, in fact, your mind is not where your body is right now, because your mind is in Delhi and your body is somewhere wherever you are located, right? So that's the case right now. Yes, that is also one case, but otherwise also you see, right now your body is sitting on the chair, but your mind is delving into matters of spirituality, which is not what your body is doing right now, right? So your yes, yes. 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 Still mind goes away. So this question proves that the mind and the body are separate from each other. Yes? The mind is not with the body always. Now, the second question is, when it is so that your mind and body are not in the same place, where are you? Are you where your body is, or are you where your mind is? Where your mind is, yes? Because sometimes somebody is talking to you and then they suddenly see that you have wandered off. And then they ask you, are you still with me? So you are not where your body is, you are where your mind is. So you are somebody who is separate from the body and you're more with your mind. Yes? Then second question is, your ears are hearing this knowledge. Yes? Whatever I'm speaking is what your ears are hearing. Your eyes are seeing my face. But who is understanding the ideas? Okay, so, brain is processing it, but who is understanding the idea? You know, sometimes I will give you a very simple example. Even while you're listening to things, there is an analysis going on, and then sometimes you are creating a mental picture of whatever is being told to you. So, although there is only audio, you are also engaging in some visual alongside the mind. So, this is something we call is the buddhi. The buddhi understands idea. The buddhi creates image. The buddhi does the work of absorbing an idea, analyzing, evaluating, understanding. So this is the buddhi. Then, and I will tell you one more thing here. If your buddhi is not very functional, then what will happen is your mind will be very powerful. And then you will feel distracted many times during the session. Okay. So, buddhi needs to be very powerful for you to concentrate on something and understand it. If the buddhi is not powerful, then the mind is very powerful, because the mind is powerful and the buddhi is less powerful, then the mind overtakes. And the problem is, the mind doesn't have the ability to understand, evaluate, or discern. These capacities are not there with the mind. The mind only feels, and the mind is very attached to sense perception. The mind is attached to sense perception. The mind is attached to memory. The mind is attached to all that you are carrying within yourself. So the mind will wander off. As soon as you lose your concentration, which is you loosen your buddhi, then the mind will wander off, and the mind will start getting distracted by some sound that you can hear in your vicinity, or something that you can see, or something that is, if you're feeling cold or there's an itch on the skin, then the mind will wander off, or it will wander off to some memory or something that happened last evening. So this is where the mind will wander off if the buddhi is not very powerful while listening to the class. Yes? Now, this is the mind and the buddhi. There are two aspects that we discussed of the inner world. And then there is a third aspect, which is called the personality or the sanskar. We call it sanskar in Hindi and personality in English. Now, what is that sanskar? If I ask you, when you are listening to me, when you are communicating with me, who are you communicating with? To the body or to the personality? Are you communicating with the body or with the personality? Personality. Yes? Tejalvan, what are you saying? Personality, right? Because if tomorrow I come and sit in this same dress and wear this same costume and I am sitting in this same setting, but I talk differently, then instantly you will ask me, you look different today. You have changed from yesterday to today. And it's nothing in the outer appearance that has changed, but from how I speak, what I speak, from the expressions I have, from whatever I tell you or share with you, you are getting an insight into who I am. That is my sanskar or my personality. And this is who you are inside. Whatever you do through the body is a reflection of who you are as a personality inside. And sometimes, people will, like in those SSB exams, 7 days they will conduct an SSB, and then in that exam they will try to gauge the personality of the person by in putting them into different situations and observing how they behave and conduct themselves. So whatever we do with the how we see, how we listen, how we speak, our expressions, our behavior, our actions, everything is indicative of the personality that we carry inside. So then this soul that I am the spirit or the consciousness which has a mind, intellect, buddhi, and a personality. And this body is the input-output device through which that who I am is expressed. And then this is also my interface with the external world. So this is my input device in the sense that my eyes, my ears, my skin, my nose are my windows to the world. So I get the information about the world through this input device called the body, and I express what's contained within me through this body, which acts as the output device then. Yes? But then how we receive an input, or how we process it, or how we give the output, what is the quality of the output we give, or how we receive the input, depends on what's contained inside. It depends on my mind, my buddhi, and my personality. Okay? So in terms of a computer, you can find an analogy with a computer in this case. Just like a computer has a hardware, which is the input-output device, and then there is a software, and then there is electricity. So, there are many people who know and understand that the soul is like electricity to the body. And you know this because when somebody dies and you see a dead body, you viscerally know that they are dead. It's that you get a vibration that this soul is no longer there in the body. Yes? A sleeping person is very different from a dead person. And you kind of know when there is no electricity. Okay. So the soul is like electricity to the body, yes. But very few people know that the soul is also the software of this body. Not many people know that the soul is also the software of this body, in the sense that whatever input I receive from outside is processed according to the quality of my mind, buddhi, and personality. And whatever response I give out in a situation is a product of my internal mind, buddhi, and personality. So I am the software which processes the input coming through the senses, and I am the software which gives an output based on that input. Okay? So just like the input output device is not of much meaning if the software is intact, then even if you put it in some other machine, that you get the same result. Similarly, this body is not of much consequence. You will be you even if you were in some other body. Is that true? You are you. And it is not conditional upon the body that you are in. And it is a conditioning that we have come to believe that the body that I am in, the conditions that I am in, the post-position label, the members of family around me are of some relevance to who I am. But actually it is not so. You are you. Whatever is outside is just a context. And even when the context changes, you can still be you. Yes? So, up until now, because we did not have this clarity about who I am and what the context is, we were very interested in changing my context so that I get a sense of who I am. But now I understand that who I am is independent of the context. So if I work on myself, okay, if I just try to improve the quality of my mind, buddhi, and sanskar, if I work on myself, if I try to better myself, then the context that I am in will not be much of a problem, and slowly I will be able to influence the context also. Does that make sense? Okay. So, see, when I say the context, what I mean is, I am a soul with a certain state of mind, with a certain intellect and a certain personality right now. Yes? Now, I have a body, I have a role to play, I have an office where I work, I have family members, I have got a certain responsibility towards my office and my family and everything else. Okay? That is my context. Fine? Now, I have always thought that my state of mind, intellect, and sanskar, my personality, my intellect, and my mind depend on my context. Yes, this is what we think up to now. But now I understand that I am independent of my context, and if I just try to work on myself, if I try to work on my mind, my intellect, and my sanskar, if I try to shift these inner parameters, then even if the context is the same, I'm in the same body, the same circumstances, playing the same roles, my experience of life will be different. And the second thing is, along with my experience of life, if I shift inside and when it is inside out, then I will be able to influence my context also in some manner. Do you get it? So, if I put it simply, there are two possibilities. A, paristhiti will change the sthiti. Okay, sthiti is the state of my mind, the state of my personality. Either I allow the paristhiti to change the sthiti, or I keep it in my awareness that my sthiti is my creation, so I can stay unaffected by the paristhiti. And when I stay unaffected, the second thing is I can influence the paristhiti. Okay? So there are two ways of living life. In an unaware state, we were allowing the paristhiti to affect the sthiti. Now we understand that I am a soul sitting inside. I am thinking, I am evaluating, I am absorbing ideas, and I am creating the personality that I am creating by thinking, feeling, creating attitudes, performing actions, and creating habits. So if I am doing all of that, and if I try to work on myself to change my inner state, then I will not only be able to not be affected by what's going on outside, I will in fact be able to influence the external. You get it? Yes? Now, there is a very simple question. If you are going through a jungle which is strewn with thorns, there are thorns which are strewn on the floor of that jungle, then what would you do? You have to walk through the jungle. What would you do?
We protect our foot, we wear proper footgear or footwear so that we can look after ourselves.
Yes, so this is a very logical thing to do, but we don't do that. What we do is we try to carpet the whole jungle. Okay.
Let the thorns pierce the body
Okay.
and just try to keep my soul and watch that and to not to feel the pain.
Okay, but instead of doing that, we could just wear a slipper, right? Yes. So if we wear a slipper, we will protect our foot, and then we could also clean the jungle. If I wear a slipper, then I could clean the jungle also. Yes? But if I try to carpet the whole jungle without wearing slippers, I cannot carpet it, and I will also be very harmed in the process. Alright? So what we need to do is, even if I want to change my context, I have to first understand that I have to separate myself from the context and then work on myself, create an inner state which is very powerful, and when I do that, then I will be able to influence my context also. So I am a soul with a mind, with an intellect, and with a sanskar. So I can do three things. I can hold powerful ideas in the intellect. Yes, the buddhi holds ideas. So I can hold ideas in the buddhi which are very powerful in nature. I can, and when I hold those ideas in the buddhi, I can allow my mind to create thoughts of power because the mind thinks and then the mind creates feelings. So if I hold powerful ideas in the intellect, I can allow my mind or influence my mind to think powerful thoughts and create powerful feelings. And when I do that day in and day out, when I do that continuously, then I can create a habit of thinking powerful thoughts. And then after a point of time, I create a personality which only knows how to create powerful thoughts. Got it? So instead of day in and day out saying, what can I do if the circumstances are such, if things are collapsing on the outside, if something is not okay in the relationship, what can I do? I can't help feeling miserable. I can just say that I am not my context. I am the master of this body. I am the one running the show, and I am very powerful. I am in charge of my mind, and my mind creates powerful thoughts and feelings, and then slowly I can change my personality. And when I do that, then after a point of time, you will see the result that everything on the external also kind of starts to fall into place. Because just like a turning top, lattu, just like a lattu or a turning top, when you have your anchor, then you can move around very smoothly and you can turn every which way and dance in a very nice and royal fashion because you are anchored very strongly in the middle. So when you are anchored within and you are powerful within, then everything around you also gets taken care of, because eventually you are the one who is taking care of the body, the relationships, and the work. And if you are grounded within, then the quality of your body, the quality of your relationships, and the quality of your work is bound to improve. And if that improves, then obviously the returns from that will also improve. All right? So, what we have to do is understand that I am separate from the body and the context I operate in, and I am very powerful. And when I hold that idea that I am powerful and I am fine, then my mind starts to create thoughts which lead you to a feeling that I am fine within. And then slowly we create a personality that everything is good and everything is fine. Okay? Let's explore this idea mentally for some time through some points of reflection. Right now, tomorrow I will tell you the proper way to visualize these. But for today, I'll just tell you this much, that you try to understand that you are someone sitting behind the eyes, somewhere here, and this someone is a point of light, and I have a mind, intellect, that is, I am holding this idea, I am creating thoughts, and try to experience that. And tomorrow I will teach you much more about how to do this with greater finesse. So let's reflect for a few moments. Sit straight and still. Keep your body still and relaxed. Now order your eyes to close and open once. And as you do so, become aware of yourself as the one sitting behind the eyes and ordering it to close and open. I am that energy, that being in the center of the forehead, creating thoughts, taking decisions, and those decisions are carried out through the body. Now become aware of yourself. I am a very powerful being. I am in charge of myself and my world. Hold this idea that I am the master of myself and my world very strongly in your buddhi. And allow your mind to feel the power. As I hold this sense that I'm a powerful being, I experience feelings of power in the mind. In this feeling of control and power, everything else, all thoughts of weakness are getting dissolved. I know I am the master of my universe. I am the creator of my destiny. And I know that I can make this day fruitful. I can use this day, every second of my time, every thought in my mind, to create productive thoughts, productive feelings, and productive actions. I do not waste time, thought, and energy. Nothing can stop me from making myself productive. I am a creator. I know how to make the best use of my time, thought, and energy. And as I shall reap as I sow. As you create these thoughts, experience the powerful feelings associated with them. Om Shanti.